All right. Welcome to a very special edition of Bleav in the Broncos on the Bleav Network, sponsored by Bet Online. I am Patrick Chiotti. I'm one of your two hosts of this program. Joining me, as always, is former Denver Broncos Super Bowl 50 champion Chris Harris Jr. And joining us on the show, very special guest, another Super Bowl 50 champion, former second-round pick out of Cincinnati, Derek Wolfe. Derek, it's good to meet you. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Just I got the girls in the house screaming and yelling and singing, so sorry if you hear that in the background.
It's dad life, man. All three of us are dads.
Dad Chris, retired life, man.
that retired dad life. Chris, how you doing, man? It's good to see you as always.
Doing good, man. I'm excited, man. Have a great teammate, great friend, Wolfe here today, especially a specialist in D-line play. Mm-hmm. You know, when it comes to fundamentals, technique, being able to be disciplined in doing his job, right, and just being a excellent run defender and pass rusher. So it's great to have Wolfe here, especially to go through, you know, this 3-4 defense, of which he was specialized in, you know, 3 technique, and being able to analyze these guys and what we're trying to do this year for the Broncos.
Yeah, this is another one of our Broncos roster breakdown series episodes. Go check out the other ones if you haven't. But Derek, it's fantastic to have you on the show, man. I think everybody wants to know, you know, what you've been up to since you stopped playing in the NFL. I think everybody's seen that picture of you carrying the mountain lion. But man, how's life been? Like, what have you been up to?
Man, that's what I've been doing, man. I've been doing a lot of bow hunting, being a dad, you know, podcasting. I got my own podcast, the Wolfe Untamed podcast. You know, really just hanging out and enjoying it. You know, just it's nice to wake up. I do a lot of jujitsu and stuff like that. I'm still doing like contact sports. I can't help myself, but it's, you know, stuff like that. And, you know, training, working out, and just trying to stay busy, you know, not lose my mind. But
I feel that.
And it's been pretty, I've been enjoying it.
That's awesome, man. Derek, I wanted to start the show off. You know, when I remember you playing so vividly, man. And like, you were obviously one of those key components to those Broncos defenses during the Manning years. You know, I did want to ask you though, I know that you suffered a spinal cord injury very early on in your career. And that actually kept you out of the Super Bowl. You and Chris both didn't play in that Super Bowl against Seattle. I asked this question to Chris before, so I'm going to ask you the same question. What was it like for you, just having, you know, the mindset that you have as a professional athlete and as someone who has to fight for everything, every single down? What was it like for you having to sit on the sideline and watch that game unfold?
You know, it's just like anything in life. You know, when something bad happens to you or unfortunate, you can take it 2 ways. You can look at it as, you know, why me? Why is this happening to me? Or I might not ever get back here. But I think we all took it kind of the same way as, hey, this just means we got to grind even harder to get back here. Because, you know, we saw Champ Bailey, who played 16 years, not ever get to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, you don't know when this is going to happen. You know, DeMarcus Ware came to the team and he was like, look, man, I've been doing this for 11 years and haven't gotten there yet. You know, and it's like, whoa, okay. So the reality hits it. You have to take advantage of the opportunity. We had all the guys that we had on that team, offensively and defensively. You know, when you have a quarterback like Peyton and Chris, we know what it's like to not have a good quarterback. So we took it for granted. You know, when you can't take it for granted. And we did take it for granted a couple times. I think you know, even in like 2014, I think we took it for granted. I'm talking about the year after the Super Bowl. And I think in 2012, we took it for granted because I think we should have had 3 or 4 Super Bowls in that 4-year run. Man. And I think we just were like, oh, this is going to be, you know, because that was 2012 was your second year in the league and my rookie year. And we were just dominating, balling, you know, and it was like, well, this is easy, you know? So I just took that injury and I was like, you know what, I'm going to try to come back and be the best possible teammate, player, whatever I got to do to get us back to that position.
I love that mentality.
Right.
Chris, you got a question for Derek?
Oh yeah, man. Wolfe, man, what do you see? What makes a great, you know, that 3-4 DN, you know, what makes a great player at that position? Because you're so good at it. And I think I want to just add a little bit more on there for you, because Wolfe is an unsung hero, right? He did all the dirty work, took all the double teams, did all the nasty work that you have to sacrifice your body to be able to do, and for your brother, right? Which sometimes don't get all the press, don't get all the news, or don't get all the accolades, right?
Or the paycheck.
Or the paycheck too, right? But Wolfe did all the hard work, right, of what you got to do so the other guys can shine. But Wolfe, who's some of the favorite guys in that 3 technique now? What makes a good player at that position?
Well, you know, it's funny because it's really a hybrid position, because you're playing head up on a tackle. Sometimes you're outside the tackle, sometimes you're inside the tackle, sometimes you're lined up on the guard at 3 technique. So it's really like one of those positions. You got to be good at a bunch of different things. So being long and understanding leverage and being able to move laterally, being able to get knockback, you have to be able to do all of that. You know, it's when a guy's in just like a 4-3, you want them to be able to penetrate. You know what I mean? But in a 3-4, they got to be able to eat up blocks and 2 gap. Well, I call it gap and a half. So you're like, say if I'm playing the B gap is my gap, right? But I also have to be able to help in the C. So those are both my gaps. I'm making the play. If it comes to either one of those gaps, that's mine. And it just came to, I remember when I first started, I never done it before, right? So I'd never really done that in college a little bit, but we did it a little different.
Were you a 4-3
I remember
in
Jack
college?
Del Rio was like, Del Rio was like, hey, you understand how to play this position? I said, what do you want me to do there? He's like, figure it out. And I was like, okay. All right. He said, gap and a half. He said, gap and a half. I said, okay. And then, you know, and I thought I learned how to play it really well. Like, it just made sense to me. I was a wrestler, so I understand leverage and I understand, you know, fighting pressure with pressure and stuff like that. It just makes sense to me. So that's how I did it. I just fought pressure with pressure. And if the play was going away, I didn't let it sweep me out of there. And I would just, you know, kind of stay, you know, keep shuffling and stay under control. Don't turn and run. And that's where your lateral movement has to be on point. You know what I mean? So I just did a lot of lateral stuff, getting some knockback and moving lateral, shedding the block, make the play, right? That's how we did it. And then when Bill Kolar came in, he took it to another level. He was like, hey, you don't have to just be a robot here. You can go make plays. And then when he taught me how to like go make plays, and that's like, if the play is going away, you can stiff arm that tackle and then you can take off in the backfield, go make it in the backfield. Or you do that to him a couple times and he starts going real heavy, then you can backdoor him. And backdooring him means you're just laying him, letting him fall down, and you run behind him and go make the play. And once he taught me how to do those things in a run game, it just was like, oh, I can make even more plays doing this. So, you know, I enjoyed it, man. A lot of the you have to you're right, man. You have to sacrifice yourself, because a lot of times I played next to Vaughn for 8 years, and together we had 137 sacks or something like that. On the field together.
Same.
So for in an 8-year span for two, I don't know what the stats are with 2 guys doing that, but we just, you know how it was, Chris. But the other thing was we had great defensive backs. We had great defensive backs. You guys were so good at making sure that quarterbacks couldn't get rid of the ball. Like, if they held the ball for 3 seconds, it was a sack. And you know, in this league, it's 2.5, 2.6, 2.3. So when we would get quarterbacks, you know, just back there scared, because they're like, if I throw the ball, it's either going to be an interception or a sack or an incomplete pass. And we just were forcing passes and making them get it out quick. And you guys were just doing a great job of holding those guys up so that, you know, they weren't open. Nobody was open. So it made it fun, man. And you got to think, if I'm in the B gap, Vaughn's on the outside of me, my job is to create penetration, get that guard, get that tackle off of him, and let him wrap around me, right? Or sometimes I would grab the guard, bring him inside, let Vaughn wrap inside, and then wrap around and cover him. Or I would do things where I would just go grab the tackle real quick, just give him a little tug and slow him down a little bit, you know. And that's you're sacrificing yourself in those plays. But the great thing about that team is that when Vaughn would make a play, I felt like I made a play. When Chris picked the ball off, I felt like I picked the ball off. Like, that's how we reacted. And if you could see it, when one of us gets a sack, the whole team, it's like I had to run away from people because I didn't want to get smacked in the head so many times. You know what I mean? You had to like run away because guys would come and just, you know, mug you. So it was, that was what it was, man. And you have to, a great defensive lineman plays with technique, uses his hands, gets knockback, and runs his ass to the ball. Like, that's really what you got to do. You don't have to have a lot of skills to do that. You don't have to be the most athletic guy. You just got to be harder working than most of those guys.
That's facts.
I'm about to say that and send this to the D line, to my kids in the D line out here, man. They gotta hear
absolutely. That. Well, yeah. I mean, Derek, that 2015 season, even despite you missing the first 4 weeks of the season, your production during that season was absolutely ridiculous. I don't know if you know this for a fact, but you were a top 10 defensive lineman that season in pressures for regular and postseason games. That puts you right up there with Ndamukong Suh. And I think back then, if you would have asked like any general NFL fan, like, oh, who would you rather have, Ndamukong Suh or Derek Wolfe on your team? A lot of people back then would probably say Ndamukong Suh, but like that just shows like you were just as dominant, if not more dominant, than like one of the top defensive linemen in the league, right? This guy's getting paid a ton of money to do his job, and he's dominant, but you were just as dominant. 60 pressures in that season, 10 sacks, 10 quarterback hits, and 40 hurries. You and Malik Jackson combined for 135 pressures. That's insane production. Wow. That's insane production from like interior defensive linemen. So that 2015 season, so special for a ton of Broncos fans, myself included, because like you said, you guys were just playing as one. And I do remember watching Vaughn get sacks and seeing you in the background of clips, like doing your howl, right? For you, that playoff run, especially in the game against New England, what was that mentality like? Because you guys knocked the crap out of Tom Brady, and you specifically had a couple of hits that, like, even today, look back and give me chills. Like, I would not want to be Tom Brady in that situation.
Wolf have been fine. They would have got
what? I would have been so fine. You know, it's funny because the 2017 season when they switched the no landing on a quarterback rule, I missed 7 sacks. Remember, Chris? I was like, I can't get the quarterback on the ground because I don't know how to do it without landing on him. I don't know how to take somebody down without landing on him. So when we were allowed to, I was always taught that when you get a chance to put it on a quarterback, you don't have to be dirty, you don't have to be cheap, but make them feel you. You know what I mean? You don't have to hit them with your helmet. You don't have to hit them in the knees. You don't have to like do anything dirty, but make them feel your weight. You know, when you land on them, like you want them to feel your weight, and that will make a guy second guess when he goes to throw that ball. He's not going to, you know, he might short throw it because he doesn't want to get his ribs hit, or he, you know, those things matter. The great thing about Tom Brady though is he never seemed to care. He just would keep going. Like we hit him 27 times, and he wasn't like 27 like, oh, we pushed him on the ground. It was like 27 whacks. I mean, he got whacked 27 times in that game. And he was still, I mean, I felt like we dominated defensively that game. We really did. But they just hang around. And then like next thing you know, he's throwing that pass to Gronkowski right there at the end. And I'm like, oh shit. You know, and we'd seen that before. We had him in Foxborough. We had him beat 21-0. Yeah. We had him 21-0. They came back and beat us somehow. And we were hammering him that game. So it just shows you that dude is really the GOAT, you know, when it comes to he's never down. Like he might be down, but he's never out. You know, he's never like given up the game. He's never going to be like, oh, well, we lost, we'll just chalk this up as an L. Like he always thinks he can win. You know, so we just took that same mentality. And you could look through the whole season. Look how many times like somebody picked the ball off or there was a turnover. Look at that Kansas City game when the ball gets knocked out and Roby takes it back. I mean, it just electric. You could pick out countless moments where somebody made a huge play at a crucial time. And Chris will tell you the game always comes down to like 2 or 3 big plays, right? And you just want those 2 or 3 big plays to be on your side because they get paid too. They're going to make plays. So we got to get them more than they get us. And that was the mentality we took. And when it really mattered, we made the plays.
I love it. Y'all were dogs. Like that number alone, the 135 pressures alone, like that speaks to what you were saying about a good defensive lineman. Y'all were just creating pressure back there and making the quarterback's life absolute hell. And then just to add in the cherry on top is you got Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware on the outside, and then Aqib Talib and Chris Harris Jr. in the like.
We had Shaq crazy. Barrett too.
Yeah, Shaq. Shane was coming in, rotating.
And we had Antonio Smith.
Tone.
People don't sleep on Tone. Dude could play. We have Vance Walker who could play.
Vance
Sylvester.
Is nice. Yeah.
Yes.
One of my favorite
Sly Williams, Sylvester Williams. He could play. We had some dogs on that D line, and our outside linebackers are first ballot Hall of Famers. Yeah. And then we got 3 or 4. We got 2 first ballot Hall of Famers at minimum in the backfield or in the secondary. You got TJ Ward and Darian Stewart, and then you got Todd Davis, Brandon Marshall, Danny Trevathan. I mean, we just had you. If you could go back, nobody's going to have a defense like that. It worked out so perfectly because of contracts and everything. The way contracts worked out, we had a bunch of free agents, and everybody put their own ego bullshit aside, man. And they made it about the team and about winning a Super Bowl. And that's a testament to Wade Phillips, I think, because Wade, Chris, you remember how Wade was? He would just like feed us those little pellets of energy every day. Be like, hey, they're saying this about you, but according to these numbers, you're going to be probably the best defense to ever do it if you keep doing this. And he was like, you guys want to be the best to ever do it? And he like really fed that to us. So I still to this day, we were the best defense to ever do it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Especially in the modern era. The modern era, and you got to look at the quarterbacks that we had to face. All Hall of Famers, really. Cam should be a Hall of Famer when you look at his stats compared to all the other guys. He definitely has a chance. But I mean, going through Big Ben, I mean, I hated Big Ben. Big Ben was tough every year we had to face him. Going against those guys, going against Brady and Gronk. I mean, multiple. And then not to mention the whole second half, we had no safeties, and we still were able to pull that out because people forget TJ got hurt and Stu got hurt. So we were back there with what was it, Kano, Josh Bush,
Shiloh,
Brute was hurt too. So we didn't even have Brute. We lost 3 safeties.
Yeah, Brute was
in the conference championship and pulled it out, man. That was crazy. But man, it just shows the depth, that we had to be able to finish that game versus Brady, because he gets better as the game goes on. I mean, like Wolfe saying, the fourth quarter, this dude is freaking unbelievable to stop. But let's talk about now, man. Let's talk about today. We got you see last year, I think the Broncos were 32nd in the NFL in rushings allowed. 5 yards per carry, right? During the 17-game season. So we know we can't win like that, Wolfe. What do you think about the new pieces that we have? Or what do you think was the issue last year with the D-line?
It was just they were worried about pass rushing. It's all because that's what gets you paid is getting sacks. So everybody's worried about pass rushing. Nobody wants to sit in there and play the run. But guess what? If you don't play the run and 5 yards of carry, bro, they just run the ball twice and that's a first down. Run the ball first and second down, first down. You know what I mean? Third down, they're getting a third and short. You're not putting them in a third and long situation where you can get opportunity to get sacks. And that's where they got Zach Allen, who is a good pass rusher, but I'm not seeing that good run stopping that we need to see, right? He's playing that position like JJ Watt played it, right? And JJ wasn't going to sit there and eat up blocks. Right. JJ's going to run around you. He's going to run around you and do all these things, the back door. He's going to beat you inside. He's going to do all that stuff. He's not the sit there and maul you type of guy. And you need to have linebackers that are willing to watch that. But if you go watch Texans film, even Kolar will tell you, JJ will get you gashed. You'll get gashed for a 30-yard run, 20-yard run here and there. And that's what was happening is you had guys giving up their gap integrity. And then it was opening up these lanes for these. They weren't just getting bullied and pushed around. You know what I mean? It was just they were giving up gap integrity, and that creates seams, and seams will get you beat. Seams will rip you open and get you beat. And that's what was going on. So hopefully they address that, and I think they will. Yeah, because they do have the guys that can do it. Like Zach Allen's perfectly capable of doing that. Like he can make plays. He's a playmaking dude, and he can rush the passer. So and then they got DJ Jones in the nose. So he's a really good player. He can hold it down. They got the kid out of Wisconsin. What's his name?
Henningsen.
Yeah. That kid's going to keep getting better. He's like a rocket scientist. Like he's smart enough to do it.
Yeah. He really showed out last year.
Do you know about him,
Who?
Wolf? John Franklin Myers from the Jets that we just picked up. We just traded for.
Oh yeah.
That's a big one.
That guy can do it too. And it just comes down to being, you have to be selfless. Like you cannot worry about, like, the plays are going to come, right? You just have to do your job. You do your job on first and second down, you're going to get your opportunity on third down. Yeah. That's how you have to look at it and take advantage of those opportunities. Like, you might not be a 10 sack guy. You know what I mean? You might be a 5 or 6 sack guy. But if you're shutting the run game down, one thing I do know is that teams that lose, nobody really gets paid. Right. So if you want to get paid, you got to win. If you win, everybody gets paid. You come from a winning culture and a winning team. They got to just switch that culture around. And Chris, we saw what was happening with the culture. They wouldn't put us in position to lead. It's like they wanted it to fail so they could sell it. I think. I don't know. It was what it was. So now they're in a position where they have hit rock bottom. Right. Yeah. They have a rookie quarterback now who we're going to see what happens with this guy. You know, he could be good. He could be trash, but history shows that rookie year quarterbacks aren't going to be great. No, like there's a reason why they get $200 million contracts. Because it is the most important position on the field. If you don't have a good quarterback, we look at 2016. We still had the #1 defense in the league. Yep. It didn't matter. We went 9-7 and missed the playoffs. Didn't matter. 2018,
the offense couldn't get going.
2019. Look how good our defense was. Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things where if you don't have a quarterback, you're not going to be any good. Yeah. That's why guys are like, oh, what about Dak Prescott? This and that. Who else are they going to play? Like, he plays great in the regular. Yeah, he plays great in the regular season, but playoff Dak is no good. You know. Yeah. So, but it's like, who else are they going to play? Like, they're going to draft a guy and hope he's okay. Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where they're at this point. It's like they don't know what they have in Bo. Like maybe Sean Payton does know what he has in Bo Nix, and he's keeping the cards close to the chest. But until he steps on the field and plays, we have no idea what it's going to be like. It could be really great. It could be, like you said, it could be terrible. Derek, I wanted to ask, like, Zach Allen did say in an article, I think last month, that they were kind of changing how they approached the defensive line play. He said they were playing a lot of side to side last year and not really penetrating. Would you agree with that? And then, the second part of that question is, both of you have played in a Vance Joseph defense before. And Derek, from your experience playing in that Vance Joseph defense, what about it makes it so difficult for the run defense? Because throughout his career, Vance has not had a top 15 run defense except for the 2017 season. When y'all were top in yards per attempt. What about it makes it so difficult for the run defense?
It's because that wasn't really a Vance Joseph. We didn't play it like VJ would play it. So I never had him coach me in that way. So really, I don't know what the deal is. I know, like I said, their gap integrity was terrible. Like, they don't gap and a half. They're just like, oh, I got the B gap. And what I'm saying is, like, say the line's moving this way. Yeah. And I'm playing inside gap and I just let them run me down and I don't come back and make the play. That's what's happening. They're just getting washed. Right. So these guys are running lateral. They're turning and running lateral because offenses are just going to scheme them up. They're like, hey, if you turn and run, they'll turn and run with you. And then you could just the cutbacks there. And you can run all these counters and these, you can run bellies and stuff, like run a belly. And then there's going to be a gap. He just finds it and goes. So like a decent in the league, everybody's good, right? Running backs all have vision. Like, you're not playing against dudes that just, that's my gap. I'm running to it no matter what. Like, they're going to find a gap and go. And that's what's happening, is they're getting washed. So I think that's what they're like, when he says penetrate, instead of running lateral, they're going to like get up the field and try to make some plays that way. So we'll see if that helps. That can create seams though. That's all I'm saying. You got to be able to play laterally and pad back and come back and make a play. Yeah. And that's just, you got to have linebackers that are willing to fill. You got to, and I think they have decent linebackers that can get the job done. Yeah. And they got, who I'm excited for this year is Baron Browning.
Oh, come on.
This dude,
we're going over the outside linebackers next week.
Let him speak on it. Let him speak.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Dude, that guy was so raw. You know what I mean? For the first year, and then I saw him get better last year. And I'm like third and fourth year of him is going to be I think it's going to be fun to watch because this dude has all the tangibles that if you could draw up an outside linebacker, you would draw him up like that. That's how he would, his build, his ability, you know, obviously Vaughn is what you want, right? Because Vaughn, you know, Vaughn is like,
there's never going to be another.
You're never going to see like, that's like it's a generational player, right? Like Vaughn's ability to run a 4.4, 4.5 and stay like 7 inches from the ground somehow. You know, it's like, and for him to, and the way he bear crawls, but I see some of that stuff out of Baron Browning.
Yeah.
So, you know, people don't give Vaughn enough credit either. His football intelligence is incredibly high. Like a lot of times Vaughn knows what's coming. That's why he goes and makes the play. But he has the ability to do it. So as Baron Browning's ability and his football intelligence get higher, it's gonna come along, you know, and he's gonna be a force to be reckoned with. And I'm excited to watch it. But as far as the D line goes, man, these guys, like, they got to change something. You can't give up 5 yards of carry. You just can't. You'll never win that way, you know. And well, it's flat. They lost a lot of games because teams were able to just run the clock out.
Yeah,
and just run all over him. I mean,
and I'm looking at the schedule. I'm looking at the schedule this year, right? And they play the big boys this year, right? They're gonna have to put the big boy pads on. You got the AFC North, right? So what do those teams do? They pound the rock.
When I was in Baltimore, for 2 years, bro. I know how it goes up there.
Yeah, like, you know, Wolf.
It's not West Coast nothing. It's, hey, we're gonna line up, and here comes the double teams.
Right.
You know? We're gonna pound the ball. They're gonna pound it. They're gonna keep pounding it. It's like, you know, and their offensive linemen are just bigger. They just are. They're just bigger dudes. Cleveland's got some big ass dudes. Baltimore has some big ass dudes. Pittsburgh always has, you know, a decent offense line. Not great, but they're decent. But, you know, I really do think that they better bring it this year. Like, they better come with it and put some hard hats on and get selfless.
Do we play Houston this year again? Do we play them again this year? I gotta look at the schedule.
I gotta look at the schedule.
They got a tough schedule, man. This year's gonna be tough.
It's gonna be rough. So last year, for the season, they generally kept 6 defensive linemen. So because we're doing a roster breakdown, Derek, who would be your 6 guys that you're going to keep for the Denver Broncos defensive line? Obviously, Zach Allen, John Franklin Myers, those are kind of set in stone guys. They brought in Malcolm Roach, but, you know, Matt Henningson's still there. There's the question of DJ Jones. You know, he's in the final year of his contract, but they kept him. So clearly they want to keep him around.
Yeah, they're going to keep him.
Yeah, who would be your 6 guys that you would keep on the Broncos defensive line right now?
You're going to keep the two guys that are, you know, that you got Zach and John, Zach, DJ, and Franklin. John Franklin. And then you got Hennessy. How do you say his name? Henningsen, yeah. I just know he's a rocket scientist, so I can never remember his actual name. But I like what I see out of him. He plays hard.
I do too.
And he has good gap integrity. So what they'll usually do is you keep 3 of those outside 3-4 guys, right? The outside guy. You keep 3 of them. They can get a 3-man rotation, and then you keep 2 nose guards, right? So and
Roach,
one of those
Roach will be the backup. Roach will be the backup.
Roach will be one of
so you'll
them.
keep DJ and Roach. So and I think they're going to keep 5. And they'll have one on P squad.
Yeah, maybe Blackson, Garcia. I don't know. Garcia's in last year in his time playing. He kind of got pushed around a little bit. They were a couple times.
Yeah, but I mean, a year can make a difference. You know.
Yeah, big time.
But sometimes it just gets worse. It depends on who the man is. You know, because some guys like look at that as a challenge, and some guys just gonna give up.
Yeah. Chris, you got anything else?
Yeah, man. One thing that Wolfe said that really made me think is like our 2017 run defense was great, but we already had the fundamentals. We already knew how to like stop the run, right?
Yeah.
So when we got Fangio, he was excellent with the D line and run defense too. From just being in the room and listening to him coach D line, he sounded like he knew what the hell he was talking about, right? With the D line. So Coach Joseph is more of a secondary guy. So I think it would be major for him to bring in like a a D-line specialist. It's good for him to have a guy like Bill, right? He needs somebody that can coach the front in the run defense. That's an expertise at that, because Coach Joseph's expertise is more in the coverage, bringing up new design blitzes, exotic blitzes, things like that. That's his specialty. So seeing him be 32nd in the league and now listening to Wolfe, it makes sense why, right? That's not his specialty of what he coaches.
And that's the thing about defensive line. Like, Chris, would you, like, if you were like, hey, I'm going to hire Wolfe as my coach, right, for my team, and I'm going to have him coach the secondary, I'm not going to know shit about that. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't understand any of that. Like, but when to come coach, and it'd be the same thing if I told you to come there and play D-line, you'd be like, oh yeah, just smack his hands out of the way and get around him, like that's what and me, I'd be like, just stay square on him and turn your hips, and whenever he break on him, and don't touch him and don't grab him and do all like the coaching isn't going to be great. That's why Bill was such a great coach, because he played the position. So he knows what goes on in there. Nothing's ever perfect in there. It's like, messy. To have a perfect play, it's just like, it feels great, because every other play is just dirty and grimy, you're just finding a way to get out of it, get out what you can, right? Try to hold your ground and make your plays as they come. And a lot of times you're just getting banged up for no reason. Like, you're just taking hits and taking shots for no reason. The ball's all the way on the other side of the field, and you got 3 guys trying to block you somehow, like things like that happen. So it is one of those positions where you need a specialist for that position, right? And that's where a great leader comes in. A great leader knows what he's not good at, right? And I think VJ is one of those guys. I think VJ is able to self-reflect and look at himself and be like, look, our run game sucks. I got to figure something out. Like, we got to get somebody else in here. I don't have the answers for that, because I don't understand. I'm not saying he doesn't understand D-line play. I'm saying he doesn't know how to coach the D-line, right? Yeah, which is fair. Nor should he be. So you bring a run game specialist in there who can teach your guys how to be they just have to be like, look, dude, if you don't win first and second down, third down is going to be third and short. It's going to be a quick pass or a screen or some draw play, something stupid where you're not going to get the pass rush anyways. Yeah. Right. So it just, I just think that they have the pieces to be, a decent team, I think if they could put everything together, and, the other thing, Chris, that you can attest to is buy-in, how important buy-in is. So any system can work, right? And I always like to tell you, I'm rambling, but I'll tell you a story about college, right? So in the University of Cincinnati, we had Brian Kelly for my first 2 seasons as our head coach. We went to 2 BCS games. He leaves and goes to Notre Dame. We were number 3 team in the country when he left. Played against the Florida Gators, Tim Tebow senior year. They dog stomped us because we had no coaches. I mean, we were going to get beat regardless. We don't have the depth that they do. They got backup players making it to the league. They had the whole offensive line went to. They had the Pouncey twins up front. It was just,
it was loaded. That was up there with one of the all-time great teams.
It was unbelievable. Riley Cooper was telling our DBs what route he was going to run and still catching a ball.
They were
incredible. So Butch Jones comes in, right? Butch Jones goes, you guys don't do anything right. And we didn't buy into any of that. That was my junior year. That would have been Jason Kelsey's senior year. We didn't buy into it because we were like, what do you mean we don't know what we're doing? So we're just like, we only won 4 games. And the team really didn't change that much. We bought in the next season, boom, we go out and we win, majority of our games and make a good bowl game and finish it out. So it just shows you how important it is to just buy whatever the system is, buy into it, right? It was like when Fangio came, right? Fangio said, I don't believe in science. I believe in hard work. Yeah. And we got to get calloused and all that shit. And it's like, this sucks, but okay, I guess this is what we're doing. Like we're going to be banged up all season. That's just the way it is. And it showed though, like when it came time to to make a stop and stop the run, really stopping the run. There's a couple times when I'll never forget that Chicago game. When me and Vaughn ran into each other, which it just never happens. That's when Fangio said, no more games, just go make the play. And then I ended up leading the team in sacks. Hell yeah. And it was like, all right, fine. Yeah. But that just shows you how important it is to buy in. So if we can get these guys to buy into whatever it is that they're coaching and whatever the message, the whole message for the team is, you got to just buy into it, and they should be fine. You know, this league is not, there's no real secret to this. You know, it's about the players. So you got to get your players to buy in. And, you know, sometimes these coaches like to make it about themselves. So that's what I'm hoping I don't see out of Sean Payton. I'm hoping he don't make it about himself and he makes it, about the team.
Man, they better buy in with them new facilities and jerseys y'all got, man. I'm jealous. Y'all better buy in up there, man.
Man, they got so much nice stuff over there now.
But that's, I mean, that's a good sign, you know, for the franchise going forward. I mean, we think back to like when Pat Bowlen was owning the team. You know, he always tried to make sure that his players had the best of everything. If you need this, great, we'll go out and get it. You guys need a in-house chiropractor? Perfect. I know a guy. Like, let's bring him in. It was anything for the player. And I think now, you know, with them building a new facility, getting new jerseys, new head coach, new ownership group, I think this is like the changing of the tides, right? So I hope you're right, Derek. I hope you're right, Chris. I hope that these guys buy in. It seems like Sean Payton's not trying to make it about himself. It seems like he's really trying to build this team back up from what it was, but only time will tell. Derek,
well, you have to. It's just like anything. Just one last thing to leave you. It's just like anything, right? Shit rolls downhill.
Amen.
All right. So if any business, any household, you know, we're all fathers and husbands. We know what it's like. If we're not leading at the top, and that shit trickles down, and that's why you got. Then you got kids that don't want to listen. They don't do the right thing. They're not, you know, and then it's the same thing with ownership in the NFL, because you're dealing with, think about it, you're dealing with a bunch of dudes that, like, I started playing this game when I was 7, right? So I'm getting paid to do something I've been doing when I was 7. So it's like, I still have that mentality of like, I need to be led from the top, you know, like we need to have good leaders in here. And I'm not talking about leadership from players. I'm talking about the ownership has to lead. They have to put in good GMs, and they have to put in good coaches, and they have to have good medical staff, and you have to have good strength coaches, and that is like a tier system, right? And that all trickles down, and unfortunately the players are the ones that get blamed for it. But you know, we saw it, Chris. We saw it, what happened after Pat left, and we saw it just trickle down. It just got worse and worse every year. They didn't really give a shit about us. Oh, we're gonna take this shitty plane. Like, dude, when we were in Baltimore, we all had lay down beds. And we weren't going far. We're going to Cleveland.
Bro.
It's like an hour and a half flight.
Bro, that's why I say, man, when I went to the Chargers, we even flew better. They even took care of us traveling, you know, better. You know, the Saints is just, the Saints organization is, they're just unbelievable, right? The stuff they had over there, like Cam Jordan, I always tell Cam, like, bro, I see why you never want to leave New Orleans, right? Like, Cam, they treat you like a god there. Like, you have no reason to ever leave. And that's what I was telling Lattimore. You know, I'm like, Marshawn, like, you want to start playing good, bro, because the grass ain't greener than, it's not better than how they're going to take care of you here, though.
It's not, man.
And thank you, Wolfe, for coming on, man.
Yeah,
and it's been an awesome show, man. We'll definitely send you the link. And you could shut it down, Pat.
Yeah. We really appreciate you coming on, Derek. Let people know. I know you got a podcast. Let people know where they can find you, man.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube at WolfUntamed95. Find me on Instagram at DerekWolf_95. You can find me on X at Derek_Wolf95. So check it out, man. It's not just hunting stuff. It's, you know, I'm interviewing some really cool people. So check it out.
Yeah,
Wolf, man, you need a hunting show, man. You need a TV show, man.
I do have that's what I'm doing. I film all my hunts and put them on YouTube.
It's perfect.
Oh, okay, cool, man. I gotta tune in
come
there,
with
man.
me. You gotta come with me,
hey,
bro.
man, you gotta take me hunting with you, man.
I'll take you seriously.
Be some comedy. That would be
hilarious.
Right. Hell yeah. Well,
we'll go down there and shoot some hogs or something down in Texas.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Then you don't have to leave. You can't leave them girls for too long.
Hey, I'm pretty sure they got some places around.
There are a ton of places around you. We'll do it. We'll make it happen. We'll do it.
Hell yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all for joining the program. Thank you so much, Derek Wolfe, for joining. You can follow Chris and I on X at Chris Harris Jr., at Patrick Chiotti. Follow at Bleav Network as well. Make sure you subscribe to the show on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. And make sure you go over and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Until next time, Broncos country, we'll be seeing you.